Tired of forgetting things all the time? Finding it hard to focus on your goals, struggling to learn new things, or got brain fog? This is not a consequence of aging. You can train your brain to get better at anything and unlock its full potential.
If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you fight for your limits, they're yours. Your brain is this incredible supercomputer, and your self-talk is a program it will run. It's not true you're too old. It's not true you're not smart enough. It's not true fill in the blank. It's just an idea that we're giving energy to.
Whether you want to learn to read faster, communicate better with more confidence, or supercharge your productivity, my friend Jim Kwik has the answer.
I believe there's no such thing as a good or bad memory. There's a trained memory and untrained memory. When you're mentally fit, you use all your brain. We all use all our brain. Some people use it just more efficiently and effectively, so they can enjoy the process of reading, studying, solving problems, and remembering so much more.
Backed by the latest neuroscience, he's here to share his methods to master new skills with ease.
And I believe you change your brain, you change your life. You change your brain, you change your world.
Welcome to the Health Optimization Podcast. I'm Tim Gray. I'm the UK's leading biohacker. This podcast is all about gaining actual advice from the world's top experts and sharing new breakthroughs in nature, biohacking, technology, and longevity research to help you live longer and happier. Unlike the film Limitless, there is no single pill that can help you unlock your brain's full potential, but Jim Kwik's methods are the next best thing. Through a combination of mindset, motivation, and science-backed learning methods, Jim trains people to accelerate their learning, improve their memory and brain performance, and uncover their purpose. Jim Kwik, once known as the boy with the broken brain, overcame severe learning difficulties to become a world-leading expert in brain fitness. In his aptly named book, Limitless, he shows you how to put everything he's learned into action. We recorded this podcast live at the Health Optimization Summit, so please enjoy. Jim, welcome to the show.
I've been looking forward to this, buddy. I could talk to you for hours, and I'm great. We've had these conversations. I've been, picking your brain also as well. It's like a mind meld, and a lot of times I wish we were recording it, and I'm glad we are now. So, welcome everybody.
Super excited for this one. So yeah, thanks, mate. So when you were young, you had an accident and wanted to reverse brain injury, basically. Yeah. So can you tell us how that started you on your journey?
Yeah, definitely. I have to say this just kind of quick 30 seconds. I mentioned this on your stage, which is one of my favorite stages. Last year at this event, Health Optimization Summit, we were out and about in the city, walking around, and a lot of people everywhere, right? And a woman kind of rushes through the crowd and kind of comes to us very, very, very super excited and saying, "You changed my life. Thank you, thank you, thank you." And she put out her phone saying, "Do you mind doing a picture?" And I was happy. I was like, and she hands the photo to me, the camera to me, and I took your picture. And that's a testament to what you're doing. And I really feel like you're an inspiring force of nature. And I appreciate the brand and the platform getting this information out to more people. So it's very, very well deserved. For me, on my personal journey, my inspiration was my desperation. You mentioned I had a brain injury when I was 5 years old. I was in school. I took a very bad fall off of a chair, went into a radiator, heater head first, rushed to the emergency room. Because of it, I had migraines every day. I had balance issues. I would fall all the time. I had a focused memory. It took me 3 years longer to learn how to read. Very embarrassing. And when I was 9 years old, I was being teased because I couldn't keep up like the other kids. And I was being bullied and teased more than normal in that class. And a teacher came to my defense, pointed to me and said, "Leave that kid alone. That's the boy with the broken brain." And for years, I would call myself, other people would call me the boy with the broken brain after that, but probably worse, I would call myself. So for people who struggle with negative self-talk, like I'm not enough, I'm losing, whatever it is, I'm not smart enough, I would always just remind you the power of our self-talk. Adults have to be very careful of their external words because they often become a child's internal words. And so every time I did badly in school or wasn't picked for sports, which was all the time, I would say, "Oh, because I have the broken brain." And that label became my limit. And I struggled every single day until the age of 18, so about 13 straight years. And with imposter syndrome, working hard, 3 times harder than everybody else and still barely passing. And when I was 18, I found a mentor and I got introduced to to the power of the brain, the mind, learning how to learn. And I've been teaching it ever since. I'm turning 51, and I test everything: focus, memory. I mean, everything I teach is very measurable: reading speed, reading comprehension, and I could tell people there's not only hope, but there's help, and we could all do amazing things. And I'm better than I've ever been, thankfully, by doing a lot of things that is taught here at your event.
You do a lot of stuff. It's funny because when you said last year, yeah, I'd love to come to the conference and let's do some biohacking together, I said, have you done this before? Yes. Have you done this before?
Yeah.
Yes. Have you done this before? Yes. Have you done this before? Yes. And it's like, what have you been up to? Oh yeah, I just had a hyperbaric session or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's funny because a few people that I know in this space, for instance, they're like, I do all this biohacking and yet I still get ill, or I'm still not optimal. It's like, but can you imagine what you'd be like if you didn't?
Yeah, good point.
You're maybe coping in some regards, but you would be in a really bad place if you weren't doing it. And it's like, it's normal to get ill or still have issues. And even myself today, I'm optimizing through some health issues, but I get on with it and I smile, and then I can teach people of what I've learned. And this is exactly what you've done. And I love that.
Yeah, I feel like, we're best suited to support the person maybe we once were. And we always try to be a little bit better each day. We don't have to compare ourselves to everything on social media, but comparing ourselves maybe to the person we were yesterday. But yeah, taking your mess and turning it into your message. For me, my inspiration was my desperation. It's funny how your struggles, which mine was learning, focus, memory, reading, become your strengths. And I'm going to remind people going through adversity that challenge could lead to change. I don't know one strong person that had an easy life. I just don't. And so I commend people who are going through hard times, who are going through a storm. I feel like there's some things we can only learn in a storm. And some storms come because they clear our path. And so if people are going through that time of their life, I want to remind them that they are inspiring people around them, whether they acknowledge it or not, with their grit and their grace. But what's the alternative? You weren't seeking those kind of, advice, tips, techniques, research, mentors. Then the alternative is just to stay the same. And then there's no hope. Like, it doesn't mean that you're looking for it, you're going to find the answer. But if you're not looking for it, I don't think it's going to just happen.
But it's funny you say about, how you're better than yesterday, because I use a task app that has recurring tasks. So for instance, every 2 weeks or whatever, it tells me to change the bed sheets or, whatever. But every night I have the 3 grateful things. So every night when I'm in bed, open up the task app. It's the only thing I use my phone for when I'm in bed is the 3 things I'm grateful for. And the task that says, how were you better today than yesterday? Every single day of my life. And, and the funny thing is it's quite difficult when you're not doing it to come up with how you're better every day. But when you're primed to do it every day, you're trying to be better every day. And it's a constant reminder every single day of my life.
And like a lot of the speakers and the exhibitors here, which are extraordinary, I always look to nature, right? Because nature is a wonderful model that's been around a very long time. And everything in nature, it grows. Like if it's green, it grows, or if it's brown, it rots. So everything has to grow in nature or it kind of disintegrates. And also everything in nature also has to give back to the ecosystem. And I feel like, I call them grow givers in the book Limitless. You grow so you have more to give. And I feel like, again, we're best suited to support other people that are going through similar situations as we're going through. And the life we live are the lessons we teach. I think it's so, what I admire about you, amongst other things, is I love your posts. They always come up early in my social media, and our team loves it also. But you practice what you post. And it's not everybody who does that. Even experts and authors that, are doing the things that they are recommending.
Yeah, thank you for saying so. I mean, I do get a lot of pushback, interestingly, saying, oh, well, you can't even live, you can't do anything because, you're telling us to not do everything. It's like, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying pick your poison. Like, for instance, I live in London, which is a high EMF area.
Pollution, everything.
Pollution, blah, blah, blah. But I pick that poison and I say, I'm going to do this stuff to counteract that. But there again, I don't use things like hairspray, for instance, or, other toxic products. And I use clean toilet, like bamboo, non-bleach toilet roll and all these things. So there's loads of things I set myself up for winning.
Yeah.
But still, people still have the perception that you have to be perfect on everything. When
I don't know anybody who's doing it perfect. Please, if you are one of those people, let us know.
So tell us about the 3 M's in your book.
Yeah.
Mindset, motivation, and methods.
So I assume everyone who's listening or watching that they want to make a change in their life. And, if you're healthy, you want to be able to grow and advance and reveal and realize, your fullest capabilities and potential. What I focus on is you control the controllables. I think that's one of the keys to life. You can control what you can control. And 3, I think the most important things are those 3 M's: your mindset, your motivation, the methods, your head, your heart, your hands, right? It's your wit, your will, and the way. And we always have an opportunity to affect our thoughts, how we feel, and also what we do. And so when I was struggling, or even I'm helping coach people who are struggling, I'm always listening to their answers and what they're giving me, because I want to know what's holding them back. Is it their mindset? Is it their motivation or the methods? Or is it a combination of them? So if everyone could think about like a box. So Limitless isn't not only the name of my book, it's not about being perfect. So let's get that straight. It's about advancing and progressing beyond what you're demonstrating. And a box, so everyone think about an area where you're not advancing. Where do you feel stuck? Is it in your money, in your health, your weight, your memory, your sleep? Where do you feel like you're not making progress? That box is 3-dimensional, right? There's 3 forces that contain that box. The same 3 forces that will liberate you out. And I think the 3 dimensions are your mindset, your motivation, and the methods you're using. And so as an example, Limitless was initially, before I sent it to my publisher, was 100% methodology. This is how you read 3 times faster. This is how you remember what you read. This is how you remember names, learn languages, give speeches without notes, focus, get in flow. And before I sent it to my publisher, I asked myself a question. I think questions are the answer. I said, will everyone who reads this book get the benefits they're expecting? And my honest answer was no. Because the truth is, a lot of people know what to do, but they don't do what they know. Common sense is rarely common practice. And most of your listeners have forgotten more about health, wellness, biohacking, longevity than most of their friends and family will ever learn. But, how are we going to change them? It's hard enough to change ourselves than it is to change somebody else. But I think we can inspire them and be a good example for them. So where mindset comes in, for example, you could be stuck in that box, have the great methods, but you could still be contained because you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe that you deserve it. You don't believe you're capable. Maybe people listen to stuff. They see people on stage. They listen to your podcast. They're like, oh, Tim, it's easy for Tim, right? He could achieve that. Right? But people may not believe in themselves. And here's the thing about beliefs. All behavior is belief driven. If you want to create a new result in your life, you have to do a new behavior. In order to do that behavior, it helps to have a belief that says that's possible. Right? So at this event, 3 people have come to me saying, I'm so glad you're here. I know you're a memory coach. I'm just getting too old. I'm not that smart. I have a horrible memory. Those are the 3 things people said to me today. And I always say the same thing. I say, stop. If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you fight for your limits, they're yours. Your brain is this incredible supercomputer, and your self-talk is a program it will run. So if you tell yourself, I'm not good at remembering names, you won't remember the name of the next person you meet, as you program your supercomputer not to. And so what do you do with this? The best way of changing mindset is, first of all, be aware that you have these thoughts. And it's not that you have a negative thought and ruins your life any more than eating a donut or a muffin will ruin your life. But if you ate that 30 times a day, every day, there's going to be a consequence. And it's really hard to create a positive life with a negative mind. So if you find yourself saying, I don't have a great memory, catch yourself and just add a little word like yet. I don't have a great memory yet. It just opens up the possibility, the potential. I'm always, in the book, I identify 7 lies to our learning and our personal growth. And a lie is an acronym. It stands for limited, idea, entertained. It's not true you're too old. It's not true you're not smart enough. It's not true fill in the blank. It's just an idea that we're giving energy to, and so it becomes like more of our reality. And so, there's this idea where it's not maybe where you'll believe it when you see it. Maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you'll start seeing it when you start believing it, right? And with this mindset, there are all kinds of experts here and that you've had on your podcast to help you rewire your thoughts, right? And there's everything from tapping to, EFT to EMDR to hypnosis or NLP, all these different things to help you change your limiting thoughts, because that could contain you. But once you have a limitless mindset and you believe it's possible for you, you're capable, and, you deserve it, then you have to look at your motivation. Because if you self-sabotage, that's a mindset issue. You take one step forward, two steps back. You're not making progress because you don't believe you're capable or deserving. But if you procrastinate, which is an issue for a lot of people, and I think all of us in some area of our life, then that's a motivation issue. And I realized that sometimes you have a limitless mindset and have the great methods on how to invest or how to lose the weight or how to have energy or how to sleep or how to read faster. But if you're not motivated to get out of that box, you're not getting out of that box. So motivation is just three things. It is P times E times S3. This is the key to have motivation, to get yourself to finally meditate or to exercise or to eat, do the food prep or whatever you should do. And it's also the keys to motivate somebody else, motivate your kids, motivate your team, motivate someone to buy your product or service. So P stands for purpose. And so I want to remind people when they motivate themselves, they have to, not intellectually, they know all the reasons they should do all the stuff that you have at this event, but do they feel it? Right? And I feel like we're not logical human beings, we're more biological. And when you think about dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, we're this chemical feeling soup. So how do you feel so that, if you without the feeling, you won't do it. But then you could have limitless purpose, that feeling, and you need the E, which is energy. Which is, I love, again, this event because there's so many people here helping you to generate more energy. It could be from all the biohacking things, the supplementation, all the foods, the education that people get. Because we have a 1-year-old and, doesn't sleep through the night at this phase. And, when you're not sleeping, you're not very motivated to study or exercise, right? And remember, you don't have energy, you do it. There's a process for generating more energy. And you know so much about this. So that's why we, in the book, talk about optimizing your sleep and the best supplements for more mental energy and getting rid of brain fog, the best exercises, how to manage your stress, which could take a lot of energy. Being around energy vampires could take your energy. And then finally, you could have limitless purpose and limitless energy and still not be motivated, let's say, to work out, because you need S3. And S3 stands for small, simple steps. I want to remind people who are, listening, participating, that sometimes you don't do the thing because it's so out of your norm, or that goal you have is so intimidating. Like, I want to have, 100,000 followers, or I want to have that 6-pack, or I want to have the perfect soulmate relationship. Maybe you need to break it down into S3 small, simple steps. So maybe working out, you can't motivate yourself to do it. Putting on your running shoes is a small, simple step. We had our buddy, our brother, Dr. Dom, on our podcast also, and we're talking about oral hygiene and how it's good for brain health and going beyond brushing. Like, he's speaking at this event about, oil pulling, tongue scraping. We're talking about flossing. And I was thinking about how to teach a kid who doesn't want to floss, get them to floss one tooth. Because nobody's going to stop with one tooth. Like, if people have seen photos with me with Elon and Oprah or whoever, Branson, people always want to ask how we bonded, connected. It was over books, because leaders are readers. If somebody has decades of experience and they put it into a book and you can sit down and read that book in a few days, you could download decades into days. But if you're not reading every single day, like 30 minutes, which I recommend as a best brain exercise, reading is to your mind what exercise is your body, then maybe a small, simple step is opening up the book or reading one line. Right? Because little by little, a little becomes a lot. And how do you find your S3, your small, simple step? This is a question I ask 10 times a day. When I feel stuck or intimidated, I feel stalled, I say, what is the tiniest action I could take right now that will give me progress towards this goal where I can't fail? Simple question. What is the tiniest action I could take right now, operative word now, not put it off, that'll give me progress towards what I want, the goal, where I can't fail. And then that's how I find my small, simple step. And I find that doing those little small steps add up to big things. Just like everybody here, it can be very intimidating. Those are experts. But it's a reminder, every expert was once a beginner. Every professional was once an amateur, right? And so you put in that time to be good at what you're most passionate and purposeful about.
I love that. I mean, when I was studying
learning cognitive hypnotherapy, there was one saying that my mentor, Trevor, actually I did a podcast with a few months ago. He said, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And it's like, and then when I was doing the diploma, I was like, I don't know where to start. He said, with one word.
Yeah.
And it stuck with me as like literally the first word. And I knew, obviously I knew it was going to trick me into it, but I ended up doing a 16,000 word, diploma, to finish the course. And
so if people want to meditate, they could just meditate for like 30 seconds, right? It's a starting point and then it just builds. I think inch by inch, it's a cinch, but yard by yard, it's too hard.
Yeah, it's super powerful, super powerful. It's like just one rep, and then you don't just end up at one rep.
Nobody does.
Yeah. So our capacity to learn tends to decrease as we get older, and we lose neurons. Our brain plasticity decreases. What do you say to people that say that they can't learn things anymore, though?
Yeah.
Because I appreciate that you say yet. For instance, my brother, I would say he's a mega brain, is an accountant, super detailed, but I frequently hear him say, oh, my memory's so bad. Like, do not say that. Like, you have to say, like, you're working on your memory or something or other, because it's like, the more you own it, the more you own it.
Yeah.
So it's like, what would you say directly to the people that, are saying, well, it's just declining, that's it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. When I was going through my learning difficulties, the person who was taking care of me was my grandmother, my grandma, and she was the most important person in my life. And when I was 5, she started showing early signs of dementia. And she would call me by my father's name, or she would repeat something she just said. And I was very confused. And she eventually passed of Alzheimer's when I was 7. So we donated all the proceeds to our book to Alzheimer's research for women. Women are twice as likely to experience Alzheimer's than men, and also to fund schools in Ghana, Guatemala, Kenya for kids that don't have access. There's no schools in their villages. But I'd say that because thank you for anyone who supported the book. But also the book is endorsed by like the founding director of the Cleveland Clinic Center for Brain Health, the top Alzheimer's researcher out of Harvard. And we know that about 1/3 of our brain's potentiality is performance is more genetic, maybe, and 2/3 is in our control, roughly. Now, some people would say with epigenetics, we have 100% influence on everything, right? But regardless, it's a large amount. And so while we teach people the software, how to read faster, how to remember names, how to focus, get in flow, all those things. That's kind of like the software. You have to take care of the hardware too, which is that 3-pound matter between our ears. The challenge is our brain doesn't come with an owner's manual. And that's why I wrote Limitless, to be an owner's manual for the number one wealth building asset that you have that controls everything. Even in photographs on social media, I'm always pointing to my brain. Or if you're watching this on video, I have a brain on my shirt, just to remind you to take care of the thing that takes care of us. Because what you see, you take care of. Even something little, like you see your clothes, your hair, your skin, you take care of it because other people could see it, but we don't see the thing that takes care of us. And I believe you change your brain, you change your life, you change your brain, you change your world. Now, my experience has been, we could grow older, but in a lot of ways we could grow wiser. Certainly, we slow down, like our bodies do slow down. Certainly. I find though, because I measure, again, everything, it's measurable: reading speed, focus, comprehension, memory, names, faces. I'm just getting better. And I just, I also feel like it's an attitude and a mindset that everything is possible, that we really don't know what's possible. You hear all kinds of cases of spontaneous healing and people bouncing not only back, but bouncing forward by just getting the right nutrients, or getting their body in balance and harmony, their sleep, whatever it happens to be. There are 10 needles that I've realized that will move things, the lever, if you will, for a better brain, regardless of your age or stage of life. One of them is a good brain diet. What you eat matters, especially, for your gray matter. And that's one of the reasons I love coming to this event, because the food is, it's good. It's good food. It's high nutrient without all the, the sketchy bad stuff. Some of my favorite brain foods, and it's different. I want to say that everyone's bio-individual. Not everything works for everybody. Some people are allergic to some of the things that could be good for them also. So get a microbiome test, do a nutrient profile. You have so many people in your network that I've got the opportunity to meet to help level up me in that area. Some of my favorite brain foods are like avocados and blueberries, broccoli, olive oil, eggs if your diet allows choline in eggs, precursor for acetylcholine, which is good for cognitive health, salmon, sardines, flax to get your omega-3s, your DHAs, turmeric, the curcumin and the active ingredient, lower systemic inflammation, can be good for your brain. Things like walnuts, high in vitamin E, and neuroprotective, dark chocolate, so many good brain foods. So people could rate themselves on a scale of 0 to 10, because on the other side is all the toxic stuff, a lot of stuff you talk about and you post about, stay away from, at least. And I want to remind everyone, there's only 4 choices you can make. There's a quote in Limitless that says, life is the letter C between B and D, where B is birth and D is death, life, C, choice. So I believe these difficult times, they could diminish you. These difficult times, they could distract you. Or these difficult times, they could develop you. We decide. And there's only 4 choices you can make to better your life. It's not easy, but it's simple. You could either stop something, you could start something, you could do less of something, or you could do more of something. That's the only 4 choices, right? Because if you do the 5th thing, which is don't, do the same thing, that's insanity, expecting something to change, right? So you could stop something. You could stop smoking, right? You could start something. You could start a mindfulness practice. You could do less of something, which is like maybe you're doing less binge watching television. Or you could do more of something. Maybe you're doing more movement and more exercise. But it's not sexy, but it's incredibly simple. So when it comes to diet, again, you choose your poisons, and you could do, if you're going to indulge in something, you just try to make it up where you can, and nobody's perfect. So some people are so stressed out about that diet. I still don't address it's not just what you eat, it's also how we're eating. It's when we're eating. It's who we're eating with, right? Some people are so stressed with their diet that they have to adhere to some mythos, and it negates any benefit that they're getting from that. Because if you're eating and you're so stressed, or you're working while you're eating, you're not in that parasympathetic rest and digest. So are you even absorbing and digesting that food to begin, or even enjoying that food to begin with?
I just talked about this actually on stage a few minutes ago. It's like, if you're stressed in any way, your liver mobilizes glycogen so that you can run away from the threat. And therefore your appetite isn't as good, and there's not as much blood flow to your digestive system. Therefore you don't get the same level of nutrients from the food that you're having, but you are putting food in. So you think, oh, I'm full, but in fact you're just not getting the nutrition, and that's the sole purpose, or the main purpose for food is the nutrition aspect.
And there's this aspect of emotional eating where we're so stressed, or, it affects our glucose, level, insulin resistance, everything. And so chronic stress has been shown to shrink your brain. And so part of it also is some people eat so fast that they don't even realize when they're satiated, and your stomach doesn't have teeth. And so you should just enjoy. I think it's important to enjoy that, especially if you could do it in a social setting, because we know that for the happiness study, the longest happiness study and longevity study at Harvard, which goes on for decades, exercise good, good diet's important, but the big thing was relationships, having community, and eating is a wonderful way to commune and to bond and be there. Or even just saying a blessing or a prayer, or just a little meditation before you eat, just kind of puts you in that parasympathetic place where you could better utilize that food, because food is nutrients, just like information is nutrients, right? It's all information. Food is information. So that's one thing. Number 2, I would say killing ants. It's not my term. I got it from Dr. Daniel Amen, who's a brain doctor in the States, but ANTS stands for automatic negative thoughts. So those are the beliefs that we talked about. So, on a scale of 0 to 10, we could put this into a little, because everyone knows the magic pill for a better brain. There's no magic pill, but there is a process of eating good food, being conscious of your thoughts. So you could rate them 0 to 10 in the past 7 days. How good was my diet in the past 7 days? How productive were my thoughts? Third thing, exercise. And I don't just mean the physical exercise of going to the gym 4 times, 5 times a week. I mean moving throughout the day, right? We all heard sitting is the new smoking, and we're behind screens all day. And the primary reason, the number one reason we have a brain is to control our movement. And as your body moves, your brain grooves. If people are listening to this podcast right now and they're doing something rhythmic, like they're on a treadmill or they're going for a nice walk and their steps in, they'll actually understand the information better and retain it better. And so when you move, you create brain-derived neurotropic factors, BDNF, which is like fertilizer for new brain growth. And so aging brain, make sure you move. And, like for me, I like to I work for maybe 45 minutes an hour, and I have to take a 5 or 10 minute brain break to recharge and reset. Sometimes I have to disconnect to, recalibrate, reconnect. And those brain breaks, I do 3 things. I hydrate, because so many people your brain is 75% water, and just staying hydrated, if you're 2% dehydrated, it can affect and impair your cognitive health and cognitive abilities. Staying hydrated could boost your reaction time, your thinking speed, upwards of 30%. When most of us aren't drinking water or quality water, you could add your salts or electrolytes, however people do it. So I hydrate, keep my energy level, and I also breathe. Sometimes when we're working at our desk or we're reading, some people, they fall asleep, and it's not because they need calories, it's just their posture, and they have shallow breathing. And they're breathing up here because they're stressed and fight or flight, as opposed to the lower 1/3 of your lungs absorbs 2/3 of the oxygen. And so maybe some breathing exercises clean out the mental cobwebs and the brain fog. And then the third thing, besides water and air, movement. If you go out there, I take the dogs out, in between calls or meetings, and just get some vitamin D and some grounding into all of that just makes a difference.
I love that you said this, because just before obviously recording this podcast, I gave my talk on the main stage, and I talked about my top biohacks of 2024.
Oh, nice.
And I started off with Dr. Ted Akikoso's a thing I heard years ago is, do you eat well, sleep well, hydrate well, sun well, ground well, breathe well, love well, detox well, and whatnot. And I talked about how 2 to 5% dehydration causes 30% up to 30% performance decrease. So the things that you're saying, including the breathing, it's funny how obviously you come from a brain health and brain performance aspect. I come from more of a physical and energy, but they're the same. And it's like actually the fundamentals of health, which is what I call them, which is basically what the whole conference is built on. In fact, I shared something on the podcast I've never told anyone before, but the health optimization logo, actually, this is the sun, this is the earth, and it's earth, air, fire, and water, which is what the logo was designed originally.
I love that. And it's so clever.
That's inherent in everything that we do. And I love that. Obviously, we've never recorded together, and we've had many conversations, but I've never realized that the overlap of what you say and what I say are so similar in terms of with different goals, but it's the same goal. And so this is this. I
love that. Now I'm not going to be able to. Everyone's going to be able to look at the logo in a new way. Those elements, it's interesting because the best thing about this is the things that you listed are mostly free, right? And so like that's medicine. And even in the morning, while I have the biohacking tools and the fun toys, at the very least I want to get those 4 elements in my body. Like I researched years ago that ancient civilizations like Babylonian times, ancient Greeks, they used to believe everything was made of 4 elements: air, fire, water, and earth. And so I started experimenting years ago, saying, well, how do I get those 4 elements into myself? And so I go outside, I get grounded, right? I'm touching the sand or I'm touching the grass. There's this electron exchange helps me just feel like less stress and ready to take on the day. Then I do, I'm getting this fire, which is the sun, which is so important for a number of reasons, especially your sleep, to reset your circadian rhythm, because your eye is the only extension of your brain that's outside your skull. But getting direct sunlight first thing in the morning, even if it's hazy, even for 10 minutes, could help you sleep better at night. So I have earth, I have fire, I hydrate. We can lose up to a lot of water when we sleep through respiration and perspiration. So I hydrate first thing in the morning with some salts or electrolytes or something, and then I do breathing, and then that's the air, and I do some kind of breathing exercise, and that whole thing, Tim, takes like 12 minutes, and it's free. And there's really no excuse that people say, I don't have 12 minutes. If you're that busy, you should probably do 20 minutes of this kind of stuff.
I once heard a quote, and it was like, you should meditate 10 minutes a day, and if you don't have 10 minutes, do 20.
Yeah,
exactly. I always remember, this makes me smile every time, because it's like when someone says, I'm just too busy for it, it's like,
it makes sense.
Exactly the person that should have it most.
Yeah, no doubt. And so movement is key throughout the day. Again, not just working out, but just moving throughout the day. That's number 3. And I would say just a few more. Number 4 are our brain nutrients. So I would always prefer, my personal take on it is I want to get it from food when I can. But the truth is the soil's not what it used to be. You're traveling, you have a fast lifestyle. So if you're not getting the eggs, then maybe supplement with choline. If you're not getting the sardines or the flax or the wild salmon, and obviously as pure as possible, maybe you supplement your DHA, your fish oils. If you're not getting the turmeric, maybe you want that effect, you supplement with curcumin, right? And that's for cognitive health. In the book Limitless, I have a whole chapter on neuronutrition that talks about nootropics. So beyond cognitive health, you have cognitive performance. And these are ingredients, substances that have research, human studies that have boosted performance in executive functioning, in focus, in memory, in mood, in mental energy and vitality. So we put 30 of well-researched, and we cite all of them in the book. If it's okay, people could get it at brainnutrition.com, where if people can't find the book, then they could get a whole listing, and we cite all of the research behind it and explain it. Some of them are a little bit hard to spell, but things like creatine, right? I was taking that a lot for working out and exercise. People associate that, but it's also one of the most researched substances, as you know, and it's also very good for brain health and performance, for mitochondria, for even offsetting some bad sleep the night before. We hear about popular ones like lion's mane and ginkgo for blood flow. We talked about in the book some less known things like bacopa, which is an herb in Ayurvedic medicine. And it's funny how ancient wisdom is being validated by like all the science. But it's it suggests that it can be good for your memory. You have something like Alpinia glandula, where that it's an herb, also in Ayurvedic medicine, that is just incredibly energizing, but has no caffeine. Ashwagandha, which we hear a lot about, that helps with mental resilience and to lower stress without the kind of jitters. And so there's so many different substances that are out there that could be phosphatidylserine, which is you have this cell membrane that needs to be nourished, and that can help with your memory and so much more.
Actually, there's a brand I love actually called Body Bio that do a phospholipid, phosphatidylcholine, which is brilliant for the cell membrane. And if your cell membranes aren't good, and when you see a cell membrane that's toxic, for instance, you can see the nutrients won't get in and the toxins won't get out. And by having phosphatidylcholine specifically actually helps that cell membrane become more able to absorb nutrients.
That's amazing.
And it's a fantastic. So there's Professor Kane was the woman that first scanned, or should I say, took a photo of a cell in the cell membrane. You can even see one with mercury poisoning.
It's more permeable, so it could.
So phosphatidylcholine, Body Bio, it's a great brand. I'm no affiliation at all, actually, but just PC. They should nickname it for. I have it every single day. And
one of my favorites is it's a coffee fruit extract that's actually discarded in the coffee making process. It has zero caffeine, but it's been studies suggest it could support the production of BDNF, that brain-derived neurotropic factors that helps with neuroplasticity. It's got fertilizer for your brain. Just a kind of quick plug, and this is the first time I've ever talked about it on a podcast. We took 5 of the biggest needle movers for myself and our team and our clients. We worked with a team of medical doctors and nutritionists and put together those 5 ingredients into a stack and we created our own product, because I didn't want to, while I have a bunch of bottles and we have supplements and cabinets of supplements, I want to keep it simple. So it's an easy way of taking 2 in a day without all the added costs and opening up lots of bottles. But people can find it, if it's okay, at kwikmind.com.
Yeah,
it's KWIK. It's my real last name. I didn't change my father's name, my grandfather's name. But KWIKmind.com, they can find all the details and the research on that. And people could even go there and just see the ingredient and then go buy it on themselves, separately. It would cost more, but I want to make something that was easy and affordable and without the GMOs, and, it's vegan, it's caffeine free with all the, standards also.
Awesome. I mean, I'm a big fan of nootropics. I mean, my personal favorite over the years has been obviously choline or acetylcholine or one of those various variations. I found that pretty much every single nootropic that I studied all worked on increasing or making you utilize your acetylcholine better in the brain.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone is the common factor between all of them. And yet, people say, be afraid of eggs.
Right.
And I found that to be good for me. And actually, Dr. Dom, he got me to do a test called the Braverman test.
Okay.
And it looked a load of questions about your personality, but it then says if you're dopamine dominant or acetylcholine dominant or like GABA dominant. Yeah. And so your personality type is shaped by your neurotransmitters. Braverman test, I really recommend doing it. And I came out acetylcholine dominant, and then dopamine second, and GABA was almost non-existent for me because I'm 200 miles an hour.
And that informs like your behavior on how you can adjust.
So you know what to supplement with, or for instance, if you're dopamine dominant, you can then reduce stimulation more because you're more prone to it, and then you have better mental clarity and focus because you're avoiding the things that actually push your buttons. Yeah. And the same with acetylcholine or the choline dominant. It's like, well, actually, I know that I need more because my body needs more because this is my primary driver. So it's actually quite an eye-opening thing because I always thought I was dopamine dominant because I was always boom, 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 chasing goals. But in fact, it was insecurity-led and not neurotransmitter-led. So big fan of the Braverman test.
Yeah. So these are the things that I would mention. You mentioned brain aging and things slowing down, and we could grow older, but in a lot of ways we could grow wiser and clearer and, make better decisions. And so those are just 4 things. I would say if there's a couple more things, 5 is a positive peer group. You need your fellowship, right? You need your friends. Our lives are a reflection of the people we spend the time with, and who we spend time with is who we become. We've all heard that cliche, and with a lot of cliches, there's truth. And the science behind it, one of the reasons is we have these mirror neurons where we're always consciously or unconsciously imitating people around us. We take on their words, their actions, their thoughts, their character, right? Their integrity, their habits. Like whether or not somebody smokes has less to do with their biological networks and more with their social networks. If your friends smoke, if your friends work out, you're more likely to adapt those habits.
Well, there's the saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Oh, I like that.
And in fact, I heard this, about a year ago, and I love it because obviously Dom, and I'm going to mention Dom again because he's our mutual friend, but when I saw what a solid, devoted father and husband looked like, I then knew what was possible. Yeah. And it shaped me as a man, just from one friend. And then, my other friends, such as Chris Gethin, again, very close friend of mine, devoted husband, focused on one woman, even though, he could have whatever he wants, he chooses. And I love that, and it's made me, grow as a man just from that. And so that saying's always in my mind. And in fact, it's funny because you mentioned the social connections, and in my talk I just gave actually a minute ago, it's so important to have a great social circle and remove the toxic people, because Gary Brecker, who's giving a talk, I think very shortly, when I met him, we recorded a podcast together. I said to him, how did you get into the biohacking space? And he said, well, I was a mortality statistician for life insurance companies.
Wow.
And he said, we had the data on what made people live longer and live less. And he said, you know what the number one thing that cut life expectancy at any age by 50% was?
Loneliness.
Loneliness, bad relationship, no relationships.
Yeah. Isolation.
Yeah. And so, it's like The Notebook. I mean, The Notebook is a classic example of that, the movie. And I'm not going to spoil the ending, but that's a classic example if you haven't been notebooked yet. So it's great that you say that, because it's like, if you're around with mega brains, what's the saying? If you hang around with five entrepreneurs, you'll be the 6th. If you hang around with 5,
if you're around 9 broke people, you're going to be the 10th, without a doubt. So, and to address like what you're mentioning, some people in our lives, like they are energy vampires, or it could be people close to you too. It could be family. It could be friends. And then when I say positive peer group, I'm making the difference. Peers are, love your family, but you could choose your peer group, like who has influence on how your opinion on yourself and, how you look at the world and how you act. And so I think it's, some people are batteries included, but some people are just batteries not included. And then there's like stealing your energy, your vitality, your dreams. And some of them can be sincere, but they, be sincerely wrong. Like, why are you always going to those conferences or reading those books or listening to those podcasts? But maybe they don't want, deep down, they don't want to lose you because you're outgrowing them. Or maybe they don't want you to get your hopes up, so they could be, have good intentions. But, I always tell people, like, don't take, because so many people are fearful of other people's opinions and being criticized. And I wouldn't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. It's kind of just a little bit of a filter. So 5 is a positive peer group. So very important to have a community. And then just a few more. 6, clean environment. I mean, you have air purifier here. Like, people don't realize, unless they follow you on social media, all the toxins that could be there that you have to mitigate. Everything from mold to dust to like the off-gassing of furniture and carpeting or even air, water, lighting, right? All of that affects our nervous system. And so, and the accumulation of it, could get to some kind of tipping point. So on a scale of 0 to 10, how clean is your environment? And also just organizing your environment. I find that, I don't know if the listeners, but when you clean your desk or you put everything in the right file folder in your computer, you have clarity of thought because your external world is a reflection of your internal world. So clean environment. And then 7 is a big one, sleep. Right. And if you see some of the brain aging, people struggling with dementia, Alzheimer's, sleep is usually a through line. And so how's your brain when you don't get a good night's sleep? How's your ability to solve problems, to be able to focus, to be able to remember? And sleep is important for your brain because you consolidate short to long-term memory. If you have long-term memory issues, maybe take a sleep study. Number 2, when you sleep, the sewage system in your brain kicks in and you have the potentiality to clean out the beta amyloid plaque that could lead to brain aging challenges. And so many other benefits, and I know you're full of like great sleep advice.
Well, it's actually really funny you say that because about the sleep and the brain detoxification is that there's a bed that I have. I'm not sure if you've tried one or if you have it, the Samina sleep system. And this isn't a plug, by the way. And when I actually went to the, let's say, factory in Austria, where they make it and they have, everything's completely natural. There's no glue. There's no metal. It's all natural, organic, the best natural latex, the whole lot, right? It's a fantastic system. But one of the things that they have is a slightly raised head, and you can change the degree of how raised it is. And I said, what's this for? And they said, because it helps the brain and the digestive system detox while you sleep better. And the funny thing is I stayed at the Samina Hotel nearby. They put me up, and I didn't realize that the bed was a Samina sleep system in there, and I didn't realize I was sleeping, in the bed and raised head slightly. The next day, and I only had 5 hours sleep. I got in super late. My meeting was super early, and breaking all the usual rules. And my sleep was like, my heart rate variability was 20% better than usual. And my resting heart rate was, 10, 15% better than usual, lower. And I felt amazing. And I was like, I've only had 5 hours sleep. What's going on? Anyway, I told them and I said, there must be something about the town. And he's like, no, actually the hotel is a Samina hotel with Samina beds in every room. And instead of just being a standalone Samina bed, it was actually built in. So that's why I didn't realize. So in fact, sleeping slightly raised head is actually a powerful thing to do to help the brain detox, which obviously helps the brain power as well. So it's a really great sleep tip that I personally benefited from. Yeah,
and that brand and others, like there are brands out there that don't have the stimulants that could keep you up, the chemicals, heat, it can be a stimulant. And some beds are designed a little bit like EMFs, with all the springs and everything. I know you talk about EMFs, but going back to clean environment, I mean, goodness. I mean, a lot of kids now are sleeping with their phones underneath their pillows. I mean, what's that doing to our brains?
It's insane. Actually, the Samina actually is grounded, magnetic grounding, so you're not connected to metal all night, but you're actually earthed out, so it helps with the EMF side of things as well. But anyway, so I just want to touch on, you've released an expanded version of your book, which talks about work, AI, and various other areas. Can you tell us what we can expect from it?
We updated Limitless. I mean, the first couple of years sold them over 1 million copies. You know, we were able to fund a lot of the charitable things that we're very passionate about. It's in like 40 plus languages. But it came out in 2020 at the start of the pandemic, and people had additional questions. So we updated the book recently for a post-pandemic world, an AI world, to really, you know, how to navigate it with your mind. And so, yeah, we do have a chapter on AI. And my question when I wrote it was, how do you use AI to enhance your HI, your human intelligence? And so for AI, I don't see it as artificial intelligence as I do augmented intelligence, like kind of like a lot of technology. And I'm pretty pro technology. It's just how it's applied, right? Like fire is a form of technology, probably the earliest form. It can be applied to cook your food or burn down your home. It's just how it's used, right? And AI, similar, right? Just like all technology, 3D printing, you could print amazing things that are life-saving to you, or it could print, you know, other things that could be detrimental. But yeah, simple things like I mentioned neuroplasticity. How wonderful it is that there's an AI like chatbot that you can go and say, explain to me neuroplasticity in a fun way as if I'm 10 years old. And all of a sudden it'll spit out something that gives you a foundation to help you learn better. You know, all the techniques, the memory chapter is the largest chapter in the book. And, you know, we talk about memory palaces and mind mapping and chain linking and all these different techniques that I, you know, teach. But you could go in the AI program and saying, hey, using Jim's technique here, teach me to apply it towards memorizing this, you know, and we have courses in speed reading, memory enhancement, focus, everything that we should have been taught back in school. And we have students in every country in the world, 195 nations. We got a lot of feedback, and we built like a quick bot, and we fed it all of our courses, all of our training, all our speeches. So people could ask like that bot, like, how would you memorize this language? Right. Or I have this speech. Here are the notes. How would I memorize? How would you, Jim, memorize that? So technology is a wonderful tool to be able to make our lives a little bit easier. And I just want to remind people, you know, while technology is convenient, don't let it be crippling. Meaning, sometimes we use our devices. There's things like digital distraction, digital deluge, the overload that we get. You know, digital dementia is a term in healthcare where we're using our devices to remember things for us. It keeps our to-dos, it keeps our calendars. It has, I mean, how many phone numbers did you know growing up? Did you remember?
All of them.
Yeah. How many do you remember now? Right.
None of them. I mean, like, I used to remember my credit cards and, you know, company credit cards. And everything. Now it's just
exactly.
Apple Pay. So,
yeah. And let me say, I don't want to memorize 500 phone numbers, but it should be very concerning. We've lost the ability to remember one phone number or a PIN number or what hotel room number we're in or a password or a seed phrase or something we just read or something we just heard. And so your brain is an organ, but it acts more like a muscle, and it's really use it or lose it. If I put my arm in a cast though for a year, it wouldn't grow stronger. It wouldn't even stay the same. It would atrophy. Same thing with our mental muscles. So the idea here is, yes, technology is convenient. Don't let it cripple you by inaction. Similar to a lift. If your apartment, your home is, or your office on the 5th floor and you're taking a lift, an elevator, then it's convenient, but you didn't take the stairs where you could have got some movement in. If you have to go to the bank 8 blocks away and you drive, yes, convenient, but we didn't get the steps. So it's like a kind of like a balance with technology that I approach it.
It's actually interesting. So one of the things about biohacking is that we talk about the nature things, and this is relevant to this, is that we're using technology to reverse the damages of technology.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, for instance, red light therapy because we don't see sunset.
Yeah.
Sad lighting because we don't have sunrise. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy because we're not breathing properly.
PPMF because we're not getting grounded. Everything that could come from.
Everything is, this is, and when I realized this, it must have been like 6-7 years ago before I did the fundamental health course. It's like, wow, everything comes back to technology damaging us, but we're using it to reinvigorate us. You know, even an app I have for Instagram now, I have to do a task every time it opens and trace my finger around the screen so that I have a stimulus and then I get the reward. And then you can set it, I want 1 minute.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm using an app to stop me using another app.
Right.
Which I just, you know, you would think we would be able to get around these things. But, you know, when the bread's on the table, you're going to grab it most of the time. So it's like not having it. So, so it's interesting that you say this about, you know, that don't overuse technology, because now we're starting to use technology to stop overusing technology.
And I think the ultimate technology we could utilize and leverage is this technology. The technology has created everything, which is our brain. You know, it's by far, like, people want to go out in space. Wonderful. You know, we train at SpaceX and Virgin Virgin Galactic and NASA, but I'm very interested in this space between our ears, this inner space. And so, you upgrade technology all the time. You get the latest app, you get the latest phone. When's the last time we took time to upgrade our brain, which is the ultimate technology?
Well, we're doing the exact opposite these days. For instance, I heard the other day that exam students are using ChatGPT to do the thinking for them and putting their things together. It's like the calculator for math. It's like, actually, we're just becoming so
I call that digital deduction. I talk about the four supervillains of the mental apocalypse: digital distraction, digital dementia, digital deluge, which is the overwhelm, which creates higher, blood pressure, compression of leisure time, more sleeplessness, like taking a sip of water out of fire hose. People buy books they don't read, and all this. But the fourth one is this thing called, I termed digital deduction, where the technology is doing the thinking for us through algorithms, tells you what you should eat, it tells you how to get from here to there. Remember before, if you're driving, you had to you had to exercise your visual spatial intelligence. But nowadays there's a technology that does that, and it makes it convenient, but we've lost the ability, to develop those gifts.
Yeah, I mean, I've got you to thank, and I think obviously I'm a big fan before we got to know each other, actually. But one of the things that I took from you along this journey that I'm really grateful for is, remembering things in terms of specifically like, I don't remember names, for instance. If someone says that, would you forget your mum's name? Not unless there was some major problem going on. Or would you forget your newborn kid's name? No. So it's just about importance. And this is the one thing, it's about the importance you put on it. And it's like, this is important, I'm going to remember it. Same with a car number plate, phone number, whatever, credit card. If it's a life-saving thing, you're going to remember it.
Yeah.
So it's just people becoming lazy and saying, I'm not going to remember it. And so this is one of the main things I've taken from
and one of the benefits of doing it, I believe there's no such thing as a good or bad memory. There's a trained memory and untrained memory. People think you have to empty your cup to put more in. My metaphor is more like your muscles. The more you can lift, the more you can lift. The more you exercise it, the more fit you are, the more capable you are. So when your memory gets better, it's not like you could actually remember more because you're just more mentally fit. It's like there's this myth that you only use 10% of your brain. You actually use 100% of your brain, just like we use 100% of our body. But if somebody is fit, and they're an athlete, they could go up a hill using 100% of their body, and they can do it effortlessly. They can even enjoy it, right? Because they're fit. Same thing mentally. You have to go up some kind of hill. You have some kind of challenge. You still use even somebody who's out of shape or unhealthy still use 100% of their body to get up that hill. But one person works a whole lot harder, and is more uncomfortable. Same thing mentally. When you're mentally fit, you use all your brain. We all use all our brain. Some people use it just more efficiently and effectively, so they can enjoy the process of reading, studying, solving problems and remembering and so much more.
The obstacle is the way. This is what it makes me think of. Jim, thank you very much for taking some time out of your day. I know it's been a very busy day. And
it's been a fun day, though.
But thank you for taking some time out to record with me. I'm really very grateful for it.
Tim, I want to thank everyone who's tuning in because, this is an amazing show, amazing event, and I love the people who are listening because they've self-selected. We're all on this path together to realize and reveal our fullest potential. And I truly believe that there's a version of you that's patiently waiting. And the goal is we show up every single day until we're introduced. So thank you.
Thank you, mate. A massive thank you to my guest and friend, Jim Kwik. Learn more over at jimkwik.com and check out the Kwik Brain podcast. You've been listening to the Health Optimization Podcast, and I'm Tim Gray. Comment and leave the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel to see more. See you next time, and remember, let's spread the health.